Welcome to the latest Motley Fool scoreboard. I'm on Chocolate, and we've got longtime fools Rick Menares and Tim Byers giving a 1 to 10 rating to a top 200 stock in the primary Hidden Gems database. It's Palantir, ticker symbol PLTR. First, we'll rate the strength of Palantir's business, including factors like industry and competition. A 10 is invincible. A 1 is hopeless. Rick's at an 8. Tim, you're lower at a 5.
Yeah, and I know that's going to be controversial. On balance, Palantir is an exceptionally strong business. The tech is proven on it. The growth rates are excellent. The trouble is that Palantir has taken recently to tying itself directly to the current administration, which makes the odds of a rip-and-replace canceling of large-scale government contracts a lot more likely than I would have considered even a year ago. And that is a level of risk that I just hadn't considered, but I think you have to consider it now.
Yeah, strip away Palantir's political bent, a deal breaker for many, but a deal sealer for others, and you have a strong business with explosive growth in recent years. Palantir was able to successfully port a potent platform for U.S. federal agencies and government contractors in the public sector into a juggernaut in the commercial space for the private sector. I went with an 8.
Right. For management, a 10 is Warren Buffett. A 1 is Homer Simpson. Rick, you're at a 6. Tim, you're at a 4.
Yeah, and it's mostly because the CEO, Alex Karp, courts controversy, and I think unnecessarily so. I'd have a much easier time if Karp and his founding partners were responsible stewards of the capital they get from shareholders. But it turns out Palantir's stock-based compensation comes in at about 15.3% of revenue. Now, that is nowhere near the biggest offender here, which I think is really like Snowflake, which is about double that. But Snowflake does not have dicey multi-share class, class setup that gives the founders and key Palantir insiders a vice grip on control here. The only real check on Karp and his other leaders at Palantir is themselves and their motives. So that makes me a little bit squishy.
Yeah, the three co-founders are still key pieces of Palantir more than 20 years later. Karp is naturally CEO. Stephen Cohen is president and secretary. Peter Thiel is chairman of the board. That kind of tenure is great, naturally. But Glassdoor has surveyed employees, giving Karp a 68% approval rating, but only 59% of the people working there would recommend working there to a friend. So that's not so great, naturally. Karp and Thiel have said some politically polarizing things over the years. That was fine when Palantir was a public sector company with views aligned with the head of state. It's a different ballgame when you're serving commercial enterprises where a more diplomatic and bipartisan approach widens your potential customer base. It's great that these guys reportedly helped find bin Laden, but where's it been cotton lately? I went with a 6.
For financials, a 10 is a fortress. A 1 is yikes. Both of you agree this time with 9s, Tim.
Yeah, and look, this is why it is a speculative wreck in Supernova Odyssey. If you want to know why, it's the financials, because there's really no disputing just how good this business can be when it comes to squeezing cash from sales. I mean, it's remarkable. Palantir generated a little more than $1.4 billion in fully organic free cash flow last year. So that's after excluding the full impact of stock-based compensation and subtracting CapEx. Palantir also carries no discernible debt. The company is about as financially muscular as Arnold Schwarzenegger back in his Conan years. If you've ever seen those movies, very muscular.
He'll be back. Palantir is coming off back-to-back years of accelerating growth, clocking in with a record 56% top-line growth for its last year. It's not done. Guidance calls for 61% increase in 2026. Its commercial revenue is growing even faster, thankfully. Palantir has more than $7 billion in cash, and as Tim mentioned, no long-term debt on its balance sheet. There aren't many companies this large and growing this fast still accelerating their businesses.
All right, Rick. Let's get to valuation. How well will Palantir's stock do over the next 5 years? How safe is it? A 10 is a sure thing. A 1 is a lottery ticket.
Yeah, I went with 0 to 5% 5-year annual growth. Positive, but not much, and a safety score of 7. Valuation is where Palantir can give you a Palantir full of concerns. The stock is not cheap. It's trading at more than 80 times trailing revenue, more than 200 times trailing earnings. The net margin is impressively high, but is it sustainable? What would a change in the U.S. administration do to its immigration control and to a lesser extent defense work, to its favorable tax rate treatments? The balance sheet is beautiful, but like a prom queen that doesn't age well after senior year, My safety score becomes a mere mortal 7.
Yeah, I'm going 5 to 10%. Because there's a lot that balance sheet can do, but a safety score of only 4. Palantir's defied gravity for such a long period of time, and its existing cash flows and outrageous balance sheet provide capital for the company to add meaningful inorganic growth, meaning they could acquire growth. But I think they need to do that, Anand, because look, Palantir trades for a 0.38% free cash flow yield. Here's what that means. Palantir trades for about a 9x premium over the market average. So do you believe Palantir can grow its free cash flow at least 9 times faster than the market average? If you do, great. But I say that's maybe for a little while. But boy, if you're tying yourself as close as Palantir is to the current administration, you risk that growth falling off a cliff. And I think that's a little bit concerning. So only a 4 for me on the safety score on it. Although they've defied gravity before. Could do it again.
Thank you to both Tim and to Rick. They've given Palantir a low overall score of 6.0 out of 10. It's been a very lucrative stock over the years, to say the least, but both Rick and Tim have concerns about its current valuation at this point. For Toppets, Tim prefers Snowflake, even with all that stock-based compensation, and Rick prefers Axon. Look out for a new scoreboard every market day at 7 p.m. Eastern. Next up is NVIDIA. Till then, Fool on.
I'm going to make some other bold statements in this next one, but Palantir, for its size, holy smokes, man. I mean, they are incredible financially.